Welcome. Today we're jumping into a really fantastic new study all about the digital transformation happening in dentistry. We're going to look at who's adopting the tech, where it's all happening, and most importantly, what it all means for you and your practice. So, all the info we're covering today comes straight from a cross-sectional survey published in the Journal of Dentistry. They looked at data from almost 1,300 dental practitioners in Germany and Switzerland, which gives us this incredible, real-world snapshot of what's going on right now. First things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. When we talk about a digital workflow, we don't just mean having one cool piece of tech. The study defines it as the whole shebang, a totally integrated digital process from the initial diagnosis all the way through to the final treatment.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with a quick look at the study itself. Then we'll dig into the juicy data, who's going digital and where. After that, we'll see which technologies are really taking off, and we'll wrap it all up with the most important part, what this means for you clinically. All right, let's dive right into the study. The goal here was to really cut through all the noise and find out who is actually using these digital workflows in their day-to-day practice, and what factors, like their age or where they work, are really pushing that change.
So this was a pretty comprehensive online survey that gathered data for almost 2 years. And they covered everything from the dentist's age and specialty to the specific tools they are using for scanning, planning, and even in-house manufacturing. It's a really complete picture. Okay, so on to our first big question. Who is actually leading this digital charge? This is where we start to see some really fascinating patterns in the data, separating the pioneers from everyone else.
And the first pattern is a huge one. There is an unmistakable generational divide. Younger dentists, the ones the study calls digital natives, are way more likely to jump in and fully integrate these digital workflows compared to their more experienced colleagues.
And we're not just talking about a slight difference. The numbers are pretty stark. This trend is especially powerful in those smaller independent clinics. In single practices, these younger dentists are more than 1.5 times more likely to be all in on digital.
Now, this is really interesting. Look at how much adoption changes depending on the specialty. Orthodontists are out in front at 45%, with general dentists right on their heels at 44%. But then, look at that big drop-off for surgical practitioners, only 22%. It's a huge difference.
Okay, next up, let's talk about the where. It turns out that your practice's location and its size are actually massive predictors of how digital you're likely to be.
The data absolutely confirms that big cities are the real hotspots for digital dentistry. If your practice is in a major urban center, you're almost twice as likely to have a fully digital workflow. This is probably driven by higher competition and just different patient expectations.
And this slide tells a very clear story. Practice size absolutely matters. Bigger group practices are just way more likely to make the investment in these technologies. And it makes total sense, right? They can share the costs, pool their resources, and get those economies of scale.
Okay, so we've covered the who and the where. Now for the fun part. Let's look at the what. What tools are people actually using? Which ones have become must-haves, and which ones are still kind of on the sidelines? So computer-aided manufacturing, or CAM, is definitely one of the winners. Among general dentists who've already gone digital, more than half, 55%, are using in-house CAM systems. That really tells you how much they value having control over the entire production line, right in their own office.
And this desire for in-house fabrication isn't just for general dentists. We see it everywhere. 42% of digitized surgeons are using CAM for surgical guides, and 38% of orthodontists are printing aligners in-house. It's clearly a practical tool across the board.
But on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have face scanners. They're still a very niche technology. Fewer than 9% of digitized practices are using them at all. It just seems that for most clinics, the high cost and very specific uses don't quite add up yet.
Okay, let's bring it all home. What does all this data actually mean for you, in your practice, day to day? What are the real practical implications here?
Well, for one thing, this data is a fantastic benchmark. You can see exactly where your practice fits in. It shines a light on the competitive edge in cities and group settings, and it confirms that this digital movement, led by younger dentists, isn't just a trend, it's here to stay.
When it comes to treatment planning, the big word here is integration. The real wins, like those huge efficiency boosts you get from in-house CAM, they come from having a fully connected system. A true digital workflow isn't about having a few separate gadgets, it's about making the scanner, the software, and the mill all talk to each other seamlessly.
And at the end of the day, all of these trends point to one thing: a higher standard of patient care. We know digital workflows lead to more precise outcomes. They help us communicate better with patients through virtual mock-ups. And let's be honest, digital impressions and faster treatments make for a much happier, more comfortable patient.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look at all these trends, the younger generation leading the way, the boom in big cities, the rise of specific tech, what do you see as the single biggest opportunity for your practice's digital journey?